The following is a Goulash Media production. goulashmedia.net.
Welcome to the System is Down.
Question of the day is, what would it take for you to change your mind? On anything. We all have these deep-rooted beliefs and things that we hold true, and we believe them with all of our heart. Whether it's religious, or political, or social, or conspiratorial, anything. What would it take for you to... What evidence would you have to see to the contrary that would make you think the opposite of what you think now? Think about that as we get into today's show. What is up, Downers? Welcome back to the least comfortable show on the web, The System is Down, where we talk about all the uncomfortable topics, the taboo things, the politically incorrect things, the things that your family prays you don't bring up around the Thanksgiving dinner table, like conspiracies, politics, and religion. And if you're new here, welcome to the show, and go ahead and find the person who invited you and just give him a big kiss on the mouth, because today's show, it was a strange one, extremely fun one. I had no idea what direction this conversation was going to go. I heard about Tyler's story through Infowars, which I don't frequent that often, actually. I clicked on some Infowars link, and his video was down at the bottom of it, and it was news. It was recently posted. Tyler, his video went viral of him kind of freaking out. Well, not kind of. Him freaking out at a Trump rally back when he was a lot more left-leaning, seemingly, and he has changed his mind. He was known for being this crazy SJW type, and he's seen new evidence, he's done his research, and he's changed his mind. And going into this, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if he was just trolling the right, just switching his views to get attention or popularity, but I am thoroughly convinced that Tyler is an open-minded individual. We need to stop writing these people off as just psychos who are doing these psycho things, like doing backflips in the middle of a Trump rally and hurting themselves. Tyler's a smart guy. I really enjoyed talking to him. I didn't know if that was going to be the case, but it was. And I'll let him speak for himself, and we'll get into it here in just about 35 to 40 seconds. But before we do, I've got to let you guys know, in case you haven't been paying attention, the Downers Club is our patron program. It's what keeps the show going, keeps us getting some of these more awesome and interesting guests on the show. So go sign up for the Downers Club at patreon.com/The System is Down, and you'll get a bunch of bonus audio content every single week. We usually do 2, sometimes 3 bonus episodes every single week, including but not limited to extended interviews with our guests when they're willing. And Tyler actually stuck around for a full extra hour, and we dug into a lot of conspiracy topics and a lot of the crazier stuff. So get in there, patreon.com/The System is Down, and get access to all that stuff and much, much more, and help keep the show going. All right, so here is my conversation with the very entertaining and intelligent Maniac, Tyler Baggins. Let's get weird. All right, my guest today is Tyler Teabag Baggins. Tyler, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, Dan.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. Your story is a unique one, and I was just alerted to it a couple days ago through, I believe, it was Infowars, right, with Owen Schroyer?
Yeah, I was on Infowars.com on the War Room with Owen Schroyer. It was kind of crazy how it all came about, but yeah, that's probably where you heard of me.
Sure. Yeah, and we'll jump into the meat and potatoes here in a bit, but I'd like to get a little bit of background on you. I always like to get people's backgrounds as far as to, briefly getting into your upbringing and, the things that formed you into the person you are today. And, as far as, we talk about things like conspiracies, politics, and religion on this show. So any of that stuff that comes into play, I'm curious to hear about your childhood a little bit.
Well, I grew up in Wisconsin, born and raised in a town called Janesville. I moved to Madison when I got a little older. And I don't know if you know about Madison or not, but Wisconsin might be like a red state or a purple state, but
Sure.
Madison is like blue, like deep blue, like the darkest blue of the ocean.
Yeah.
Madison. And I've been living here for a while. I got into stand-up comedy a few years ago in this town, and it's really hard to have a voice, you know, in a town like this when you're like a contrasting opinion, you know.
Sure.
I like to consider myself like the black dot inside the white part of the yin yang, you know. Wherever
Sure.
I go, I'm just like the outside from within, you know. So in Madison, it's really, really hard, and they want to push you out. They want it to be all one color, you know. They just want it just blue. They don't like outside opinions. So starting off just with a few years ago, you know, you go through the whole thing of learning how to be funny on stage, and it's a real tribulation process, you know. And it really, you see a lot of people just give up on themselves, but and they don't want to just be themselves, and they don't want to talk, even though it's comedy, you know. But that's you know, and aside from comedy, I've also been a professional wrestler for the last 10 years of my life too.
Really?
So I'm an independent wrestler. I got in that right out of high school. I basically went to college and pro wrestling school at the same time. And I realized that college was fake, so I stuck with pro wrestling, and
which is more real than college these days.
oh, you know it, man. It's you can learn a lot from wrestling, you know, probably more than you can from college in a lot of ways. The philosophy department, anyways, you know.
Sure. So was your family, were they more blue or were they more red?
My family, they don't give a crap.
Sure.
They're like, my dad's in a union. He's a union carpenter. I'm a union carpenter too. My mom, she's a working lady. They don't really care about politics. I think they had me when I was young, or when they were young. They had me when I was young. I was just a baby when they had me. And and they were young too. So I don't think they were really politically involved or aware or conscious. They were just regular folks, you know. But me, I was always into it from the time I was a kid, and because I started watching stand-up comedy when I was young, you know. And I think if you get the jokes when you're you know, a preteen and a teenager, you kind of like feel really smart for getting their jokes, but you don't really get the jokes,
right?
So it develops your like kind of warped sense of what reality is, because you're learning about politics in the world from people who are not telling the truth on purpose. And you know what I mean? It's the art of not telling the truth, you know? So it's interesting to have that. I think that's where I got more of my political stuff, was from TV and from just growing up and going to school and all that. My parents didn't really interject that a lot into me.
Gotcha. And the media, as most people know, is pretty slanted left. So that is what helped you form this opinion. I mean, judging by the video that we're going to get into here in a minute, you had a pretty left slant to your beliefs at the time, right?
Well, you know, I feel like I don't even know if I felt it on the inside, but it's kind of like a lot of the projecting and the image you put off. Like, you want to be a part of the group, you know, like if you were like a horse and you were living with zebras, you'd like paint on wacky stripes all over yourselves to fit in, you know?
Sure.
Like, you want to fit in with the group. So I think that's why it was so over the top, because it was almost like, it was like a parody of what I thought they were, you know what I mean? You get what I'm saying? Like, it was like, what would it be? Like, what's like the archetype of what they want? And like, that's what I went out there to be, you know?
Gotcha.
And that's not what they wanted, apparently. I mean, you become what they want, and then they see it and they don't want it anymore. They just, what's the next one? We want something different.
Sure. Yeah. And I mean, from watching some of your videos online and stuff like that, not just the main one here that's raised the controversy, but some of your videos, I mean, I don't say this offensively or anything. Like, you're a bit of a maniac. You're a little bit over the wall with your character and everything, right?
Well, you know, I'm a pro wrestler. I look up to guys like the Macho Man, Randy Savage. You know, like, they're intense, but they believe what they're talking about. They talk about real things. They talk about things that actually mean something. They tap into the human spirit, and they're able to just condense big ideas into intense moments and just project them out into palatable bites for people who might not be as intellectually aware or intelligent or politically inclined or whatever. You can condense it down to something like wrestling's great because it turns the stories into just, like meat slapping, like meat slapping together. You can't but if you can take the big picture ideas and condense them down into like a tangible story and quick with a big punch, then people can really understand without having to do all the research you did. They get the idea and then they can work backwards. You get the idea to sink in and then work backwards from there. Because people don't look at the big picture. Most people, they just see a little bit and then they keep going on. They see the thumbnail and they decide not to click on that link, But if you can get them to click, if you can get like a thumbnail that gets everybody to click, that's when you can get the real deal in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And you had a video that definitely got people to click for a little while. Everybody wants some sort of viral fame these days. They want to be they want to have their videos posted around. Do you mind if I share the video?
You can share the video, man. It's not up to me. The people share the video whether I like it or not. That's the thing about viral fame is like it's not really fame, and you don't get a choice. It's just it comes and goes, and you're like, what just happened?
Right. All right, we'll play it here real quick. For those who are watching the video version of this episode, you'll see the video that we're talking about, and the rest of you'll get the gist of it. And we'll explain it and what's going on here. But here we go. Let me know if you have any trouble hearing this. But you got my screen, right? You can see it.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay.
All to come out here, wait in line.
Where is your ticket?
And there's nothing.
You
got shake your head, man. You got some fire in your head.
What are you smoking?
I'm smoking pot. That's what I'm smoking, lady. Smoking the green, smoking the herb. Is that what you think I'm on drugs? Because I hate this fascist prick?
I want to see you.
You fat bitch. I just gave you what you wanted. I just gave you all what you wanted. It's a fucking circus, everybody. Look. Look.
Look at the monkey. Look at the monkey.
I did that on purpose. It's all a fucking show here.
All right. So let's talk about that clip. What was your mindset there? Like, where were you as far as, well, how long ago was this even filmed? When did this occur?
This was just over 2 years ago. It happened. It actually went viral on April Fool's Day of 2016.
Okay.
And it was at a Trump rally in Janesville, Wisconsin, my hometown. And I got a ticket to go. Me and my friend, we drove down from Madison, and we got to the hotel or the Holiday Inn where we were supposed to see the event. And it was beyond capacity. And it was just seas of people. I think Trump orchestrated this whole thing. Like, he knew there was only 1,000 tickets to give out.
Honestly, I've been to a couple Trump rallies, and the first one I didn't get into. I was standing it was before he got elected, so I was just going to see what was going on.
Yep.
And it was freezing. It was like 10 below or something here in Illinois, and yeah, ended up not getting in. It was pretty
it was insane. There was people everywhere, and he did it on
we
purpose.
had advanced tickets to it too, so
everybody
definitely
had advanced tickets, and they knew that they have 1,000 tickets, but that doesn't mean they're not going to give away 3,000 advanced tickets.
Right. The reason that they told us was that like some of the Bernie supporters and people were going through, since the tickets were free or cheap, they would go through and buy up all the tickets and not show up. So they had to give out more than was available. But anyway.
Well, that makes sense, because there were a lot of people there from both sides, and that's actually, I wasn't sure what to think of them at that point, like, because it's just this crazy hoopla, and it's like, what is going on? This is nuts.
Right.
And then, like, so I wanted to go out there and see what it was, and I waited in line with all the Trump supporters, and it wasn't quite as bad as all the hype. It was like a bunch of like nice people, and like, I was dressed like I was, and they gave me some looks, and they made me feel a little uncomfortable, but for the most part, they were just like regular people. Right. And then you look at the protester side of it, and it was just insane morons just hooting, like they didn't know why they were there. They were there to have fun. It was like
ironic for you to be saying that.
Yeah.
I'm not calling you a moron. I'm saying,
no, it makes sense.
What happened?
I understand. But like, so you got both those sides out there, and it's just like I had my war paint on, man. Like, what side am I on? And then after they said you can't come in, I'm like, well, what am I doing here? Standing out in a field. I felt like an idiot, man.
Sure.
I felt like I got worked. I felt like I got, tricked.
Yeah.
So I kind of was just getting out of there. And I wasn't even that upset. I like my journey out of the Trump rally. Well, it was like a 10-15 minute process. And I was, yelling at some of the people, and it was mostly lighthearted. Like, they're yelling, get a job, and I was like, my employment status is not what's important, and then they'd laugh and let me go on. But then this last lady, she looked at me and she said I didn't have a ticket. And I was like, lady, I had a ticket. You had a ticket. We all had a ticket. That's why I'm mad, because we all had a ticket and we're not allowed in here.
Yeah.
So, and then she said the thing about the pot, and like, that's an easy one. Just like, oh wait, okay, now I can go off on you for that.
Yeah. Honestly, of the video, that's my favorite part, is when you're just like, what am I smoking? I'm smoking pot. I'm like, good for you. At least you own it. At least you own it.
I got memed, and someone made like a Dr. Dre video, and I was like, oh yes, I gotta like a smoke weed every day.
Nice.
Sunglasses meme made of me. That's like high accomplishment,
It's high praise these days.
Better than that.
That's right.
Just does not get better than the cool glasses meme.
So were you as anti-Trump at the time as you appear in this video, or were you just going along with the hype of, what the media is telling us to, be angry about this?
I was worried that he could be potentially dangerous, because I hadn't got into what he was saying. Hadn't gotten into the weeds of like who his supporters were, who the people who were trying to get him elected were, why they were trying to get him elected, what his platform actually was, getting past just the media stuff. What I liked about him was how he got himself out there and how he was able to push himself into the media narrative. He injected himself into a narrative that he didn't belong in, and it worked for him. And I thought that was really interesting, because I'm a wrestler, and he's been a wrestler for the last 30 years, so I have kind of a kinship with him in my own mind, and so that's why I was curious about him. But then you just hear all the Comedy Central garbage, late night TV garbage, Jimmy
everything,
Kimmel, Colbert, all of them. It's just like garbage. So then you got that going on, and you want to trust him because that's who I came up on. Remember when I said I was 13 years old? Those are the people who taught me. Like, it was Jon Stewart who got me into politics, because I was too young to understand it, but I could laugh at this stuff. It's the same thing that we were talking about Macho Man Randy Savage. Jon Stewart is Macho Man Randy Savage for like the Democratic Party. He got Obama elected. It was Jon Stewart that did that. And like, you buy into all that stuff, and it's wrong. I don't know. It was a blurry time. It was a very blurry, slippery time. I was taking a lot of acid at the time. I was watching flat earth videos on YouTube.
I love it, man. Like, I love it.
I don't even know stuff. Like, I don't even know where I was at, It was just like, what is reality? What really matters? And then when you realign yourself with what is reality and what really matters, that's when the Donald Trump stuff started kicking in. It's like, I do support this guy because this guy's aligned with reality and what really matters.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure, kind of.
Kind of.
So yeah. First off, let me ask, how are your knees? Did they recover okay?
My knees are fine. I actually have steel-plated adamantium knees.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Because of this, or was that before?
Before. It was okay. Before. It was all in preparation.
Gotcha. Just getting ready for it. You knew the day was coming, right?
Yeah. Stem cell therapy.
Yeah. Now the title of the video is #NeverTrumpActivist Unhinged Backflips with FU Fat B language warning. Do you feel like that well represents concise. What your stance was, or
very, very concise wording by whoever published that? I wish I would have had the video for that. I wish I would have published that. They probably made some money off of that thing.
Yeah. So the person who was filming it, it wasn't like somebody who was there with you. It was just somebody else in the crowd.
Some guy, I don't even know who it was. I couldn't even picture him in a lineup. I wasn't even looking at him.
Gotcha.
Literally, you see the moment on the video where I looked over and I was like, "Oh shit, there's a guy taking my video."
Shit, I'm gonna be famous in the bad way.
Yeah. Yep.
So after this came out, it was shared around quite a bit, right? You were on like Vice and a couple other media platforms that were talking about it.
International, bro. It was like Daily Mail in the UK. It was the most absurd, and it was on April Fool's Day. So like, it was just this absurd, like, synchronicity of just insanity. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, it was surreal. It was surreal. And then about 6 months later, I'm listening to Infowars because I had had this moment where like now I'm like full on Donald Trump. I listen to Infowars every day, and I'm listening at work. You know, I'm a carpenter, so I'm putting in a ceiling at this new school, and I'm listening to my earbuds, and I hear the clip going on. I'm like, oh no, they put me in a bundle of how you can't tell the difference between reality and the movie Idiocracy.
Sure.
So it was a bunch of fake stage clips from Idiocracy mixed with a bunch of real clips. Right. And that was the end cap on that.
So how does that make you feel? I mean, by that point, you were already kind of moving over in another direction, because I mean, you had to have been if you were listening to Alex Jones. So like, how did it make you feel to be that kind of like, I don't know, like the SJW caricature, basically, is what they were portraying you as?
You know what? I looked at it. At first, I was kind of you want to be embarrassed, but then I looked at it like, this is actually pretty good, because I look pretty ridiculous. Like, I definitely push people over towards the Trump train.
Sure.
You know, like if that was a false flag, I could say that was a false flag, and then that would have been like, oh, I'm a genius.
There you go. Just backpedal and say, no, I was just there to get everybody to support Trump.
Yeah, you think I really dress like that? Come on.
You say you're shirtless.
Like the backflip. I did that on purpose. Right?
Yeah, that's what I hear. So what was kind of the turning point? Like, can you pinpoint the where you started to think, you know, maybe I'm completely wrong about all this stuff, and maybe I should. Because I mean, like, I'm not a huge Trump supporter myself, but I'm definitely not a Democrat either. I'm somewhere. I wouldn't. There's a lot of people. Between.
There's a lot of people like that.
Yeah,
there's a lot of people like that.
But I don't I judge him.
Election.
Yeah, I don't have any problem saying Trump does some things good. I'm not stupid enough to think that everything he does is wrong, like a lot of people seem to be these days. But yeah, was there a moment where you thought, you know, I'm wrong. This doesn't make any sense, and you flipped the switch, or was it kind of a progression?
It was more of a progression. It was a long progression. Like, and honestly, it comes from being on YouTube and having nothing better to do, and just going down a rabbit hole, watching different YouTube shows and and researching what the people are saying. It's so cool on YouTube because someone can say something, and you can be really into it. And then you can pause it in the middle of that discussion and then go learn about it for an hour and then listen to them talk about it again. And you know exactly what they're talking about, you know? So that way you can kind of keep up with these super well-read intellectuals to like understand the points they're making, you know, like guys like Jordan Peterson and Sam Harris. Like, those guys are hard to keep up with until you listen to them a bunch. And then once you get their shtick or whatever, then you can tap right into it. But you got to do the research and get in and like really get in the weeds and figure out what they're trying to mean and what they mean when they say those words, you know, because words mean different things to different people. So when you say I'm a Trump supporter, for example, like, that means different things to different people. Right. And that's like, unless we discuss those, unless we talk to each other, we're going to be speaking two different languages. You know, it's like the Tower of Babel. Yeah. It's like they built the tower and they were all speaking the same language. And then what happened? They began to speak different languages. And to me, that means that words now have different meanings to different people. So it's like, not like, oh, now you speak Spanish and you speak English. It's like the words mean different things to these people. And now it dissolves into chaos. Like, we're dissolving into chaos because we don't have meaning in our lives. We don't have common meaning in our lives on any level, whether it's spiritual, metaphysical meaning, or whether it's the meaning of just simple words. Like, what is like, and it's both. People want to say that Donald Trump is fake news and he's a liar, but it goes back to Bill Clinton trying to define the term is. Like we're in an area in life where we can quibble over the definition of the word is, and if we can like what is. How much more simple does it get than is, man?
Right.
And that's the world we live in. It's just, that was 20 years ago. That was 30 years ago now. And we're to the point where it's just two different realities going on.
Sure. Absolutely. Hey, Dan Smots here. I'm taking a second to interrupt myself talking to talk about myself because, you know, I don't get paid a penny for the hours and hours that I put into creating this show for you guys in your greedy little ears, and I've got a family to feed. To make that happen, I run my own media business called Goulash Media. If you have a need in anything from video production to graphic design to audio production and beyond, you can get it all for a painfully fair price at Goulash Media. In video, I do weddings, music videos, commercials, pageants, plays, etc., etc., etc. For design, I do photo editing, album art, logos, branding, business cards, merchandise, you name it. For audio, I do engineering, production, editing, jingles, and, well, podcasts. So if you've got a media need of any kind, or if you'd just like to give a little something back and help keep my children fed, check out all the endless options at my website, goulashmedia.net. That's goulash, Goulash, media.net, where we cater to the little guy with the big vision. Okay. I mean, the main reason I wanted to have you on, I know a lot of people, like maybe even the Infowars guys, they want to have you on because you were somebody that they used as a trope for a Democrat, and then you became a little bit more on the right. I'm not that concerned about like whether it was from left to right or right to left, but you felt very passionately about something in your life, and no matter what it is, I find it very fascinating and very interesting for that. Whenever somebody has a very strong held belief that they've had for a long period of time, and they are able to change that by, you know, receiving new information. And I mean, in politics, they call it flip-flopping. It's like, it's not flip-flopping. It's, you know,
I learned. I'm a human. I got new information and I changed. That's kind of the point of humanity. That's good. As long as like you stick behind what you believe and you don't just believe everything. Right. You know, if you change if you flip-flop every other day, that's fine. But everybody goes through a progression. I mean, we start off and we're little babies. Like, right. you know what I mean? Some of us don't ever change that. Yeah, no, a lot of people are just stuck in like arrested development state of not wanting to have any responsibility for anything in their lives. And it's not even that you have to like have responsibility and like, you know, do lots of work and I'm a hard worker, I'm a responsible person, but it's like, just take responsibility for yourself, you know, like what you got is because of what you did, you know, I mean, and you know, the track, like if you were to take the slope of the line that you're traveling on in your life, that's what's up to you. You don't get to decide where on the graph you start, but you get to decide the angle you take on that journey, you know. And you can decide whether that's going to be, just a straight line or if it's going to be exponentially growing up towards infinity. You know, you never know. You never know. And like, that's the whole point. It grows towards infinity. The more you take responsibility for yourself and all that, the more you realize that I can unlock these doors for myself. And every time you open a door, someone else sees that you opened a door for yourself. And they're like, oh, I don't have to just open doors for this guy everywhere. This guy does it himself. Right. That's the guy I want on my team because he's not going to need me. He can do it on his own. So I want to work with these people. And people don't understand that. They think, oh, if I just do this, someone will give me what I want. And it's not about doing something so you'll get what you want. I mean, in a way it is, but it's about doing what you want so people that you want to work with you. Right. Does that make sense? I think it makes sense to you. You messaged me to do the thing, and I never met you before. You know, it's just like you're going out there, hey, this guy would be good on my podcast. Let's get him on. It's that easy. And like starting a podcast, how hard was it to start a podcast? How hard was it? For me, not that hard. Not that hard because I had most of the skills already from other jobs that I've done. But it's not easy if you don't know what you're doing. No. You know, I think it's easy. I don't know what I'm doing.
Sure. Well, it depends on what you're shooting for, I suppose.
Idiot.
Yeah.
Like, I got some free software online, and we got some live broadcasting software. We figured out how to do cuts.
Oh, yeah. No. Yeah.
And do this.
Absolutely.
And now we got another software program where we can edit movies. And we just spent all weekend editing new, like we went out on the streets. Me and my crew, we went out to the Keeping Families Together rally in Madison. And what we did was we wore Trump shirts and Make America Great Again hats. And we tried to start a dance party to just like get positivity out there. Sure. And you know what? It worked a little bit. Like, some of the people were starting to dance with us, you know?
What is the Keeping Families Together rally? Like,
so
what is
immigrants? There are immigrants, children being held in cages, my friend. Gotcha. You didn't hear about this?
I didn't know if it was that or if it was like, you know, the nuclear family, something for that.
No,
I mean, you don't hear about that.
They're not marching for that at all. They're marching against that. You forget that. They're marching for families from other places. They don't want the American nuclear family. They don't want that.
Sure.
They want, like, it's not about the families. They were lying. Actually, in the first speaker that spoke at this event, I did live fact checking on the ground and just Googled what she said. She lied. They said they ripped a guy out from his family. They blindsided him at a meeting when he went to go meet with his lawyer. And they didn't tell him in advance, and they arrested him on Friday, and he's in jail now. And turns out they told him in February he was getting deported. So it's like he went to the meeting knowing he was going to get deported, just so he could get deported 2 days before this freaking event that they're having.
Yeah.
So then you tell the people that, and it is, they don't even want to see it. They say, "I don't care." Literally, those are the words out of this woman's mouth was, "I don't care." Are we back?
Yeah, I think we're good now.
All right, cool. Yeah, but so we went out and we just tried to have like a dance party, and like,
nice.
We made a video of it, and I put it on my YouTube channel, and it's like you contrast it to the stuff that happened in Portland this week. Did you see at those demonstrations?
A little bit, yeah.
With like just people going battle, like 50 on 50 rumbles in the streets, hitting each other with sticks, punching each other, just Antifa getting knocked out, just cold, one by one, just ping, 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 like bowling pins.
Right.
And like you compare, and like that was Antifa crashed conservative protest. Right. So when Antifa shows up at a conservative protest,
things get lit on fire.
But when the Trump supporters go to your protest, we're dancing, we're reaching out hands, we're trying to have a good time. We're trying to bridge the gap. We want to teach you the truth. We don't want you to die. We want you to know what we know so you can live for a change, man. Like, so like that's the contrast. When they come to our events, or I won't say them and us because that's divisive.
That's divisive, yeah.
But when Antifa comes to a conservative event, there's always conflict. There's always conflict.
Right.
And I want to be part of the change of when the Trump supporters go to the progressive events, there doesn't need to be conflict. That's how we change. That's how we stop this madness from going on, is we don't double down on the madness. We expose the madness on the other side, and we double down on kindness, and we double down on reaching out and trying to bring people into the good ideas on both sides.
Absolutely. I love it. 100%. And I always say on this show, conversation is dead, and that's why we do this show. This show is just about, talking to different people on different sides of things and showing that there is some sort of middle ground here. And even the people who are inciting violence, I certainly don't support at all, and I think they're a little crazy, but I want to know your thoughts on this. Like, I've been contemplating this lately, and it's like, can I really be like that mad at them for inciting violence? Because they're like brainwashed by the media. The media tells us every day you need to, they say Americans are outraged by this. They're outraged by that. They're telling us what we should feel outraged about. They're also saying, like, if these people legitimately think that there are racist Nazis and everybody who is red is a racist Nazi who's going to run the blacks and the gays and the Jews and everybody out of the country or kill them, then they should be outraged. They should be inciting violence. But if they could just scrub the brainwashing out that the media has caused, maybe they would be able to see, that's not happening. That's not where we are. And like, you're being the exact thing that you're fighting against.
Yeah, that's a good point. And you know what? It's that point that you make, and that little thing you noticed. I forget the word. I'm drawing a blank, but what you noticed there is kind of what gives me a little bit of hope that all these people are just full of it. It's all hat and no cattle. If they think that there's concentration camps with little children at the border, and all they do is make a post on Facebook and call you a Nazi, then you would have been a Nazi back in Germany. You would have let the Jews go on the train, and you might have called them Nazis. You might have said, "Oh, you're the worst," and you might have yelled out your window that Nazis are bad. But like, you didn't. You were
brainwashed. You were brainwashed. They were brainwashed.
Look, I live in Wisconsin. Texas is 18 hours away, and not a single one of these people drove down there to find out what was going on. And that's why me and my friends, that's what we're planning next week. We're going down to Texas. We're going, nice. We're driving the van down to Texas to see the border for ourselves. We're going to see and make up our own mind. That's what we're going to do.
Awesome.
Because I can't trust the news, man. I can't trust anything. And it's 18-hour drive from where I am. And that's a day and a half of driving to get there and back. I can take a 3-day weekend and go down there for a whole day and learn. And all I got to do is sit in my car. It's not that hard. It's not, you just don't want to do it. You don't want to go out there and get in the world. You don't want to find out what's really going on. You want to trust what's on TV, but then you want to be able to like feel good that it's the only way to think. Because if you're watching the different channel from somebody else? Like, we don't all have to watch the same channel if we all just open our eyes. You know what I'm saying? Just look around everywhere. We don't have to be tuned into the same frequency.
Absolutely, man. I love it. And honestly, I mean, when I saw your story on the Owen Schroyer episode, he asked if you were trolling. I was still a little bit like, there are people that do this just for attention. They seem like they're trolling. I definitely don't think that that's the case. Now you're clearly an intelligent individual, and it's fantastic. I love the points that you're making. I'm curious, are you now, I know that you're a Trump supporter. Are you straight up Republican, or are you just,
I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Republican. And I guess I would call myself a Republican if I had to be put in a situation where you have to pick one or the other.
Sure.
I'm definitely not a Democrat. But I think instead of like a
Libertarians.
Well, instead of a left-right paradigm, I want like an up-down paradigm, It's like, it's not about the left and right. It's about who's going to take us up and who's going to take us down. And you can have people on the left and from the right that are going to take us up, and people are going to take us down. It's just flip it. And then we can really move places. We can just kind of shake things up and kind of think about things a little bit different and integrate ideas, because there's a lot of issues that used to be big, huge, major wedge issues, and they're not anymore. Gay marriage is one of them. Like, I think that the Republican Party, or a new party, or whatever, the right or the conservatives, there's a lot of room to be explored in the gay community to like bring over. Because if you're like gay and you like are 2 50-year-old gay dudes, you're married, you don't have kids, do you want to pay taxes? Do you want to pay taxes? Like, to pay for some other kids, some other straight people's gross kids?
Right.
Like, no, you don't have kids. You want your tax cuts for your business so you can be rich, and have your boathouse and your yacht or whatever gay people do with their money when they're old. I don't know. But like, it's and not just gay people. It's also like the union. I'm a carpenter. I'm in a carpenters union, and a lot of the guys I work with are blue collar. They're hunters. They own guns. A lot of the carpenters and working class people in Wisconsin who are in the unions, they own guns. They go hunting. And all of our money, because we don't donate to political parties out of our own pockets, we join the union, and then the union spends our money.
Right.
A lot in most cases. Most people don't even realize that's what's going on. But they don't realize that their paychecks are getting put in to have anti-gun legislation go through. And it's like, wait a minute. Are you why don't the conservatives try to be a little bit more pro-labor? Because that's how they're going to keep jobs in America. That's how they're going to, that's how they're going to do what the things they say. They don't have to be, to revolutionize the system to just reach out and say, hey, union guys, you do realize like on most of the issues you agree with this side, right? No one's saying that. No one's saying that. No one, because everybody wants to just fight the other side. And it's like, no, we are the other side. Most of the other side doesn't pay attention.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. In like I said, I'm libertarian. I would suggest that you look into. I believe that your beliefs and your opinions actually fall more on the side of libertarianism.
Oh,
even
I
than
agree.
republicanism.
I agree with that too. I think. Like I don't think you should litter, but I'm a libertarian. I'm a non-littering libertarian. You know.
So that's all right. That's totally fair. It's a big spectrum of libertarianism where we just don't like the government. Anyway, I was gonna say something and it left me again. It's been a rough day. But so
on libertarianism, that's one thing I've been trying to do lately is just read into like some of the founding fathers and some of their writings. And John Stuart Mill is on liberty. That's one that I started reading, and that's like the foundation for libertarianism. And I've been reading that, and I've been reading a lot of the Thomas Paine pamphlets lately. And what I like to do is like get the audio book and then read it at the same time, and it really changes the experience from just like reading it, because some of the language is dated. You know, the vernacular they use from 300 years ago or 250 years ago is a little bit dated, but to hear someone say it, you can understand it. You know, you can understand it through the spoken word better than you can hear it. So just to see it, it's like Thomas Paine was like Alex Jones for 1776. It was crazy. He's talking about all the same stuff, like the metaphysical battle, and like that's what it's about. And you can read it today, and it still means something, and that's just blows my mind. And I think it's worth keeping those ideas around, and that's why I'm more of a conservative than a progressive. I'd rather keep some of these old ideas and try to understand the old ideas than just try to come up with something new, because I'm not smart enough to come up with something new, and I don't trust people enough to come up with something new for me. Like I don't like letting people tell me what to do. I'm not going to. You know, like it's not gonna like sorry, good freaking luck. I'm a long haired freaky people. You know, like if I did that, I wouldn't be where I am. You know, like I'd be in a way different place if I did what everybody told me to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, we talk about the left and the right as the two options, and the left is the progressives. But it seems to me, it seems more like the right. And again, I'm not on either side, but I feel like the right is like way more progressive lately than the left. Like progressive in the sense that they're looking to improve things, they're looking to change things for the better. I mean, you talk about gay marriage and gay rights and stuff like that. Of course, like. I mean, we look back on it now. It's like, why was this ever not allowed? That doesn't make sense. And the right is like, yeah, they're progressing and accepting of that thing. And Donald Trump, who's been called a homophobe, was the first president ever to go into the White House being in support of gay rights, but they still call him a homophobe. It's like they don't want. The left doesn't seem to want any kind of middle ground. They don't want to give him anything at all. Like everything he does, whether it's sitting down with Kim Jong-un, the leader of North Korea, for the first time in history, or any like tax cuts or anything like that, they're always going to find some way to spin it into a negative, and it's very confusing to me why this. So much hate is. I mean, it's not that confusing.
Progress. It's definitely not progress. No. That's for sure.
I think it's 100% the media making this happen.
Yes, exactly. The media, whoever decided to call the left progressive, that was like George Orwell couldn't have put better spin on that. You know, like they're destructing. They're about destroying America. Like that's what it's about. It's about breaking down everything, all the foundations. It's not about progress. It's about. I mean, maybe like if destruction, you got to tear down a building before you can put up a new one. Sure. I'd rather renovate the one we got, man, because we got a pretty cool place here. You know,
it's America's not bad compared to everybody else.
Yeah. So like, how about we just renovate the place we got?
The fact that we're allowed to have this conversation right now proves that it's not bad compared to everybody else.
Yeah, and that's what Trump's first big thing was a renovation of a hotel. That's, you know, he went in and he gutted it and he renovated a hotel.
Sure.
You know, and his engineer for Trump Tower was a woman. So he's been doing this stuff for 30 years. So the first woman to engineer a building in Manhattan was Trump Tower. So he's not doing this just for politics. He's not doing this just for the brownie points. He's doing this because these are his network. He's putting people in there that he thinks are doing a good job, not because it's for progress, but because it's for progress. It's for progress, not for progress. Like, we want progress. We want to get somewhere. We want to get the job done.
Absolutely, man. So do you, now that you've kind of changed your tune a little bit and are leaning more on the other side, do you look at these? Well, I mean, what's your thought process when you see these social justice warriors and these people on the hard left still, preaching the crazy nonsense and doing backflips in the street and hurting themselves for their what they think is their views? Do you reach out to them and speak to them and say, "Hey, I was like that. You can watch it on Vice how I was like that." Do you use that to preach your points?
A lot of those people are lost causes, but then on the other side of that coin, a lot of those people that, if they wake up, they could be some of the most powerful voices on the other side when they flip. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I don't even want to say that they're lost causes, because I mean, you're here now speaking a different tune.
Because, like, look at me. Like, as passionate as I get about something, imagine if you can harness that passion for something true, something real, something that for progress, right?
Absolutely.
That's what I'm trying to do now. I'm trying to move forward instead of just tread water and just trying to survive and keep my head above water. Like, I want to move forward. I want to swim. I'm going to do a front crawl. I'm going to do the butterfly, breaststroke. I'll do all the strokes, man. Let me get where I'm going. I'm not fluttering. I don't even want to do the doggy paddle. I'm advanced level. I'm like 3rd grade swim lessons level. I can do it on my back. Elementary backstroke. I can do all the strokes, man. I can dive. I can do it. I can swim across the swimming pool. I can do the cool underwater turn. Even that's what I want to do. I want to learn how to do the underwater turn and come back on my next lap.
I love it. Yeah, absolutely. So like you said, you did the Donald Trump dance party at this whatever the event for the families. Are you doing anything else like that, as far as like preaching a different tune and doing it in a positive spin?
Oh man, I'm just trying to look for every single opportunity I can to do that. Because honestly, getting all the messages I got over the last few days from being on the Infowars show, it's insane. Not a single negative message. I get overwhelming positive support.
Right. And you went off a little bit on there.
All over the world. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. And like, just having people on comment threads starting discussions based on just seeing what I did. And I started discussion and getting it going. And there's like, my favorite part though is on the Alex Jones YouTube channel, in the video, there's like conspiracy theories about me. And I'm like,
of course there are. Of course there are.
Yes.
You're some sort of shill, right?
Comment thread, conspiracy theories. And none of them are right. Not a single one of them. You're all over the spectrum. They don't know what, they're clueless. And I think that's why I think I'm onto something.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree. And so after going on there, you said that a bunch of people were hitting you up. I think that's interesting because, like I said before, it might be a lot of people that are like, this is a guy who's now on our side, and so he's this trope, this thing that we can use. Like, I don't feel that way at all. I'm mostly
people
interested.
Who are happy that I am finally thinking clearly. That's what it is.
And I also said at the beginning of the show that you're a bit of a maniac. I say that in a positive way. You did go off on that episode a little bit, as far as like getting riled up, and you had to dial it back a little bit. But I think it's great that people are, there's a lot of people
Joe Rogan, I'm coming for you.
There's a lot of people that are still seeing like, this guy might be a little bit crazy. Maybe we need that. And he's still saying things.
I'm a lunatic. I'm at the moon, baby. Woo!
He's a hashtag never Trump activist, unhinged backflips with FU fat B language warning. Anyway, so you have now started. Did you say that you started a podcast recently, or what's going on with that?
Yes, it's called The Hot Box with Tyler Baggins, and it's kind of a throwback to The Hot Seat with Wally George, if you're familiar with that. That's a good rabbit hole to go down, The Hot Seat with Wally George.
Sure.
But yeah, it's called The Hot Box with Tyler Baggins on my YouTube channel. I think it's YouTube/C/Tyler Baggins. Just YouTube Tyler Baggins, and you can find me. And I think we're setting up a Patreon and trying to go, because we spent a lot of money already, and we're investing in our own selves anyways. But if people like what we're doing and they want to help out, we figure why not give the opportunity, because we're going down to Texas. We could, I think we're going to set up some meetups along the way and see if we can get a caravan of people to go down to the border. I might be like Forrest Gump. People are going to follow, man.
Yeah,
we're going to go see the world with our own eyes like Forrest Gump did.
Absolutely. We need more maniacs, more people that are willing to dig into this stuff on their own. Definitely not enough people like you, for sure, who are open-minded enough to not only completely change their worldview, but also be willing to do the digging, do the research on their own to figure out what is true and what is not, and report back to us, the lazy masses, and let us know what is real and what is going on in the world. But Tyler, I would love to keep you on for a little bit of a bonus segment, talk about some conspiracy stuff if you're down.
Yeah, of course, man.
Cool. But as far as this, the main episode, thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure, and I hope to have you on again in the near future, man.
Yeah, of course. I'll be back soon.
Hey, guys, thanks for sticking around to the end. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Tyler as much or more than I did. And I did. I really enjoyed it. If judging him just based off of the initial video, would not expect to have such an insightful conversation with somebody who goes out and presents himself in that sort of manner. But, like I said at the beginning of the show, what would it take for you to change your mind? What would it take for you to take a belief that you had and you thought you were deeply convinced that you were right and think the absolute opposite? I'm not asking for, there's no real answer to that, because it just depends on what topic we're talking about and what area of life we're talking about. But I think it's a worthwhile discussion to have. Even things that I believe. Do you at least have an open mind enough to think, maybe I'm wrong? Maybe I could be convinced otherwise. Maybe, just maybe, I'm not the genius that I think I am. So come on over to the System is Down forum and let's talk about that. Let's talk about all these things. Talk about the media. Talk about the left-right paradigm. Talk about all the crazy, uncomfortable conversations that we have on the show. You can do so in the System is Down forum, which you can find by going to tsidpod.com/forum. And Tyler Baggins is now a member of the forum, so if you have a question to ask him directly, you can do so in the System is Down forum at tsidpod.com/forum. It is just a place for all sorts of weirdos and maniacs to converse in a civil manner and discuss thoughts and different ideas, weirdos like yourself. So come on over, join the conversation. And again, you can get the second hour of my conversation with Tyler Baggins and much more by going to patreon.com/the System is Down and signing up for the Downers Club. You get a bunch of bonus audio content every single week. I can't tell you exactly how much. It just keeps getting more and more. We do a show called The Anti-News, where Craig and I break down what's happening in the world today with a very politically incorrect slant. And we do, Remzo Martinez and I do Would You Rather Wednesdays, where we play a horrifying game of Would You Rather. I do a show called Hate Speech, where I just rant about things that drive me crazy in the world. Just all sorts of things. It's a big variety of uncomfortable content and weird, fun, awkward, unedited, unscripted content for you, audio and video. And at different levels, you get different incentives as well. You get merch and DVDs and all sorts of strange things. So you got nothing to lose. You can sign for as little as $5 a month. That's like a Starbucks. A cup of Starbucks a month to help support the show and get all this fun content. So get over there. Get into the Downers Club at patreon.com/the System is Down. And if you don't like it, you can bail after the first month. There's no contractual obligation, but I guarantee you're going to want to stick around and see what's going on there, because we've got a lot more coming up. Bonus audio. Thanks for calling in the middle of my outro, douchebag. A bunch of bonus audio and video content, so get in here to the Downers Club. All right, so you know all the other places where you can find us, right? Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, You just search for it. I don't need to give all the plugs. You can look in the show notes, show description for links to all this stuff. Go over to iTunes, leave us a good review and a 5-star rating so people know what they're getting out of this show. They know what kind of craziness, delightful maniac craziness that they're getting when they click on The System Is Down. And it helps boost our ratings and build the show so that I can make it a bigger and better listening and viewing pleasure for you guys. Do it. iTunes or Apple Podcasts or whatever, the podcast app, Stitcher, anywhere. Leave us reviews. Help us out. It's free. Takes you almost zero time. Do it. And most importantly, as I always say, this week, as you're going through your week, ponder these things. Ponder what it would take for you to change your views and why you believe what you believe and why somebody else might believe what they believe, because it might not just be because they hate you or they hate America or they hate your views. It might be because they've seen evidence that you haven't seen that convinced them to believe the way they believe, or they haven't seen the evidence that you've seen that made you believe the way you believe. Tyler's a great example that the person who disagrees with you is not your enemy. They're not hopeless. They're not lost causes. They're not your enemy. They're not even trying to destroy you necessarily, unless they are. There are some who are, but the vast majority of them are doing what they think is best, even though they could be wrong, and you could be wrong. So go out and find somebody that you disagree with, talk to them, and listen to them. It is the way that we are here to change the world for the better, to bring back the conversation, to find the middle ground, and have these uncomfortable talks to figure out why we believe what we believe. We're all humans in this together. We're all figuring this shit out at the same time. So until somebody has all the answers, let's listen to each other. Sound good? You guys good with that? Yeah? Cool. Let's do it. Get out there, have some conversations with humans. And I don't necessarily mean Facebook. I mean face-to-face, eye-to-eye, human-to-human. Have a conversation with them. All right. That's it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for listening. I love you. I appreciate it so much more than you could possibly imagine that you are keeping the show going. So if you'll have me, of course, I'll be back here in your ears with some more uncomfortable conversations for you. First thing next Monday morning. But until then, question everything and stay uncomfortable. Thanks. This has been a Goulash Media production. goulashmedia.net.
This concludes our broadcast day. Click.